We are Americans, and we are the vanguard of freedom. And the rest of the world looks at us for that. And right now, we're not trusted. Our credibility is shot. Our president doesn't even get consulted by world leaders anymore on anything. Saudi Arabia is talking to China about making the yen the national or the world currency for trade, right? Specifically in oil. And that's the only thing that maintains the strength of our dollar. The Federal Reserve is not federal, and it's not a reserve. Our money's not backed up by anything. It used to be, it's not anymore. The Federal Reserve does better, those 5 private banks do better, the more debt we're in. And the Rothschilds and all those other people throughout history have become rich because nations have gone to war with each other, and they financed that war, and they put countries like France and England, historically France, England, and many other countries in debt. And then they own you. And we don't want those kind of people owning us. Our Constitution is devised for you to own us. You own the government. The government works for you, and the people that you elect work for you. But we have gotten so far away from that concept right now that we can't even recognize it. And we need to get involved. We need a clarion call. We need a grassroots call to action to take our government back. Our government is hugely important because our founding fathers decided a way to divide up the power among 3 branches, separate but equal. And that has been undermined. The executive branch has way too much power. The federal and state level, way too much power. Our legislators, the leadership in our legislature has basically given that away. Not only to the executive branch, but to the judiciary. And now we find ourselves in a predicament in which executive orders have created a huge economic crisis, a huge border crisis, a huge drug crisis, a huge mental health crisis, a huge crime crisis, and I could go on and on and on. And it's also taken us down the road where we got 3 generations of young Americans that don't appreciate what they have. They don't even understand what they have because they haven't really been taught that. And those that have somehow been able to figure it out on their own and developed an epiphany, right? And I was having a conversation with one of them just a few minutes ago. And his name is Boris, and he's sitting right over there. And he goes to UNH, and he studies political science and sports management. And he said, heck, there was a point where I thought, wow, free education. Wow, they're going to pay off my debt. Wow, we're going to do this. They're going to give us that. They're going to give us that. And he thought, well, that's a good thing. And then he said, okay, wait a minute. Someone's got to pay for that. And wait a minute. It's going to be me. Because my generation is going to be caught with the bill, right? And then he's like, okay, this has got to change. And then he saw it through the eyes of the president of UNH, right? And the things that he was saying. And the fact that he wasn't doing the right thing by our Constitution. He was violating rights. And we see it every single day. People have drifted further and further away from our founding documents. They have drifted further and further away from our principles. They have drifted further and further away from the truth and allow lies to supplant the truth. And I mean big lies. They're spending our money hand over fist. The only solution they got is to spend more money. We're at $30 trillion and climbing. Wait till the deficit hits and becomes debt on 1 October of 2022. We don't even have a budget for 2022, yet we're talking about a budget for 2023. Our government is not running. It doesn't run under a continuing resolution. There are parts of the government that just don't get funded and don't run. And that's a bad thing. I know this because I know inherently that the military doesn't get funding it needs under a continuing resolution. You get pay, you get retirement, you get other things to keep your personnel moving, but a lot of other things are suspended until there's a budget. And that is not good for America. And the person that I'm running against has voted 100% of the time or agreed 100% of the time with everything that Joe Biden's doing. And she goes with whatever her party tells her to do. And it's just not on the Democrat side, so listen, it's on the Republican side too. And I'm not going to stand up in front of anybody and say, oh, guess what? Democrats this, Democrats that. Yeah, they have their share of the blame, lion's share of the blame, but Republicans are also at blame. And if we're not willing to assume responsibility, we're never going to be able to go down there and fight for the right things to get done in this, for this nation. And we're not going to represent you. And I submit that our America Strength agenda, which has everything to do with economic prosperity, fiscal responsibility, the safety and security of Americans at home and abroad. I'm not a globalist, but we live in a world in which we are connected to everybody, and we have to participate in that, right? We can't divorce ourselves from it. The world counts on us. We count on the world. We are together, right? You can't separate Homeland Security from foreign policy and from security abroad. We have too many Americans over there that we have to take care of. We have, 194 countries, and in a majority of those countries we have ambassadors, right? We have country teams. We have Americans on the ground doing American business, doing national security business, doing business for our interests, right? We have military personnel that we send over. We have corporations that we send over. And we have a responsibility to Americans that are in other countries. We can't just do like Joe Biden did and forget about Americans in countries. We can't turn our back on Americans or our responsibilities. And he did that, and he did it with the consent of Maggie Hassan and every single other federal delegate that we have down there. They did nothing, and it weakened us, and that's wrong. And that's what the American Strength agenda is all about. It's about returning the power to the people. It's about God, family, community, country, because without strong communities, and I want to thank each and every one of you, not only for coming here tonight, but for what you do inside your communities, because communities are the bedrock to the strength of this nation. And what makes communities strong are those institutions of education and family and health and all these other things that are better managed at the local level. But trust me, at every level of government right now, there are people that will do you harm, that don't believe in this country, that don't believe in our Declaration of Independence, that don't believe in our Constitution. And so the local level, I think, is the most important because it's where everything gets done, right? My job is to keep the federal government out of your way. Keep the federal government from not intruding on your lives. You are better off without the federal government, right, in your business. The federal government can help. It only, you look up, okay, what are, our federal enumerated authorities in the Constitution? And really there's only 5, but a lot of people like to talk about 18, and then there's more. And we have over 450 agencies, right, in our federal government that are just a sucking sound for money. It's just wrong. Commerce, trade, coin, post offices, right? Really, the only infrastructure that the federal government is responsible for is roads that go from one post office to the next. But they're in everybody's business, aren't they? Right? They're in everybody's business. And build an army and a navy, right, for national security. Those are it, right? But you look at what the federal government's doing, they are all over everything you do. There are so many regulations, there's everything, right? I'm a knucklehead, sir. Simon. Yvonne. Simon and Yvonne. Simon and Yvonne, right? Simon comes from Kent, England, right? And he's a naturalized citizen. He came over here. He did it the right way, right? He is a computer programmer, and Yvonne works in healthcare. And, well, she doesn't anymore because of what the federal government did to her, because of what state executive orders did to her, because politicians got in their way, because they know better, right? They know better than you. They interfered with her medical freedom, and that's absolutely wrong, right? In 1783, we wrote our Constitution here in the state of New Hampshire, and guess what it had in it? A plan for pandemics. All we had to do was follow our Constitution. We would have been just fine. But we decided not to follow our Constitution. And it was about fear, uncertainty, and control of you. And now we're really feeling that right now. I spent 33 and a half years in the United States military protecting those freedoms, giving an oath to those, being sent to other countries to defend those very principles that when I come back, I find a country that doesn't believe them. Imagine that. I lost 72 service members fighting 10 tours in Afghanistan and in Africa. 72 of them. Every single one of them. I held them. I looked in their eyes. Some died in my arms. Some did not. And I got to tell you right now that we are not upholding our responsibility to their sacrifice. And that needs to stop. And I'm the only candidate running, including Maggie Hassan, that knows this, that knows what that feels like. The only candidate that has made that kind of sacrifice, that will go to Washington, D.C. and make sure that doesn't happen again, that is wrong, and that we got to fight against that, and that any time someone's going to take away our rights, someone needs to stand up and say no. And hopefully it's someone that you elected that has the responsibility to do it. There is just too much at stake for our children and our grandchildren, the future of this country. The future. A Quinnipiac poll that came out not too long ago. One question: if this country was invaded, would you stay and fight? 68% of Republicans said yes. 57% of independents said yes. 52% of Democrats said yes. Where's the 90 percentile? I have nothing to say to that other than I'm shocked and I'm ashamed, and that's a message that's sent to our enemies. Trust me, they're paying attention to that poll, right? We have allowed this administration not only to negatively affect healthcare professionals and first responders and many other professions, but we've also allowed them to give service members who have served honorably and done their job other than honorable discharges in the thousands across our military, and sent them home in disgrace for not wanting to take the damn shot. That's wrong. It almost happened to my boy in the National Guard here. I pleaded with the governor and with the president of the Senate and with the Speaker of the House. You can do something about it like other states did. It's Title 38. You could say, no, my guys don't fall under that. But no. Instead, my son got counseled by his leadership and told that he was going to get an other than honorable discharge after almost 6 years of honorable service. He was further told that when he came to drill, he wasn't going to get paid because he doesn't have a vaccination, so he can't do his job. And he's got to stand over there and be separate from everybody, along with all the other guys and gals that didn't want to take the shot. And oh, by the way, we're not going to feed you. So you got to bring your own food. What kind of leadership is that?
Piss poor.
Piss poor. I couldn't say it any better. You're right. It's wrong. And they got away with it. And I think it's disgusting. Not because it's just my son, but because it's happening to many people's sons and daughters. And I tell you what, the first, people ask me, what's the first bill you're going to, the first bill I'm putting in is a bill to reverse all of that. A bill to give them the option to come back in. If they missed any promotions, they get promoted. They get all their back pay. And if they don't want to come in, back in, then their character of their discharge will be reversed to an honorable discharge.
Right.
Because I'm telling you right now, you go to any employer today and you say you served in the United States Armed Forces and you show them a DD Form 214 that says other than honorable discharge, you are not going to get hired. That's no way to treat anybody. Right? No way. And so that's going to be my first bill because it's got to be. This pandemic put us on the wrong road. It's keeping us on the wrong road, and we are in big, big trouble. So my platform is simple. God, family, community, country. I believe in this nation. I will fight for it. I believe in you. I believe in our Declaration of Independence and our values and our principles. I have taken an oath to that my entire life. I've taken an oath to my wife. Those are the two oaths that I've taken, and I've never violated either one of them. I am a man of character and integrity. I am a political outsider. I will put people before politics, service before self, and I will work for you down there. Now, last thing I'm going to say, the state of this campaign. So, yep, I'm the guy with the least amount of money. Story of my life. Right?
I didn't marry you for your money.
See that? See, you could have introduced me. Yes, I have the least amount of money, and it's just because of who I take money from and who I don't take. Who I want to be beholden to and who I don't want to be beholden to. Right? That comes with a price. I get it, but I'm committed to it. So, I don't need millions of dollars. The first one who raises the most money isn't the one that wins. It's not about that, right? It's about working hard. It's about not quitting. It's about getting out there. And I have nearly 1,000 volunteers. I just got one today. Right, boards? And over nearly 1,000 volunteers. I have county chairs in all the counties. I have city and town representatives. This is $1 million infrastructure to reach people, talk to people, get my message out that no other candidate has, not even Maggie has. She doesn't have it. She's been a senator for almost 6 years. She's invested no time in the people of New Hampshire, no time in building a bottom-up infrastructure. Everything she does is top-down. Everything she does is top-down. And it's not working, right? A year and a half ago, I've been on the trail a year and a half ago. And the reason I announced was because I got letters and emails and texts and Facebook messages from people all over the state asking me to run. So I'm here. If people think I can do something for them, I'm going to try my best. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I make mistakes, but I'm not afraid to admit when I make a mistake, and I make it right. And it will never be one of character and integrity. It will always be one trying to do the right thing, but sometimes you know how that goes, right? The outcome isn't what you're looking for. So instead of reinforcing failure, you're man enough to go, well, that didn't work. Let's do something else, right? And so I will do that. Transparency, trust, accountability, responsibility, all those things that are missing right now. Well, a year and a half ago, I was 30 points behind her, and she had a 51-point approval rating. Wow. Fast forward to April. I am now tied with her, and she's got a 35% approval. And a 51% disapproval rating. How's that feel? Right? So,
That's right.
and
How much money did you spend on?
huh? Now, I'm getting to that, right? So, she spent $10 million over 2021, as I'm running against her, $10 million on ads. I spent zero. It's asymmetric. It's working bottom up. It's getting out there. It's contacting people. It's looking at people. It's getting coffee breath coast with people. It's having coffee, having lunch, doing that hard work that I did when I was a leader in the military. I didn't sit behind my desk. Desk is a dangerous place to watch the world, right? I got out. I didn't even use my office. My office was rented out more to other people visiting than any other office in the command, right?
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And if I ever got fired, it would be a quick exit. I had one uniform hanging in the closet. I had a picture of my family, my hand grips, and my memorial to the service members I lost. It would fit in a small little box, and I'd be, see you later, you know? So, my office wasn't a, what'd you call it, a shrine to myself, right? That office belongs to the unit. That office belongs to the people that I'm responsible for. So what you saw in my office was all those things. Pictures of the men and women in my command doing great things out there, you know. Yeah, whenever a visiting general officer or an ambassador or a congressional delegation needed an office, I gave them mine. You know? And, because I didn't need it. The thing about being a general officer is you have the same computer systems, top secret, secret, unclassified, in a room in your quarters. It's been all configured for all that kind of stuff. So I can do the exact same thing from the basement of my quarters that I can do in my office, right? So I would always leave the office sometime around 4:30 or 5 o'clock so that the people in my command wouldn't hang around until the boss left. Right? Because that's what they do. Is he gone yet? You know? And I'd go to my quarters and I'd read emails and I would do that kind of stuff from there. I would come upstairs, eat dinner, and if I had to do anything else afterwards, I'd go back downstairs and then come upstairs. Sharon and I would watch television and go to bed, right? I mean, it's about putting people first, their families first. Mission will take care of itself. We don't have that kind of leadership and understanding. I don't believe. It's my assessment. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the serious problems that we have. So this campaign is strong. You know, I have other Republican candidates in. They just came in, some 2 months ago, some a month ago, some a week ago. We got 120 days till the primary. It's right around the corner. I'm 33 points ahead of the closest one, right? So, my name is known, theirs not. It takes a lot of work. This is a small state, but not when you're campaigning. It's freaking huge. And so you've got to start early, and you got to be out there, and you got to be open, and you got to be willing to take your licks from people, and you know, just be honest, because you know people have good hearts, and all they're looking for is someone who cares. You know, Teddy Roosevelt said a long time ago that when people look at leaders, they don't really care how much you know; they want to know how much you care. And I think that is exactly right. So God has been good to me. God has put me in positions and on a path where I know Washington, D.C., I know the international community, I've worked the federal budget process, I've done all those things to prepare me to go down to Washington, D.C. with some street cred. I'm not just a freshman senator. I'm a retired general officer who spent 33 and a half years in the military. And there isn't anyone there that can hold a candle to that. I'm not going to be told to sit down and shut up because I have a background that They're going to want to listen to me about intelligence and about foreign policy and about the military. And not only that, about the budget. I had billions of dollars of equipment, twice the budget that this state has, and I had a $500 million of operating budget for my personnel in my last command as a division commander in 28 countries, 2.5 times the size of the United States. Right? And I had to use the same budget process that senators and congressmen have to use. The difference is, I had to have my budget done on time, and I had to account for every penny, right? There was no exception. I had to have every penny accounted for. They have $50 million rounding errors. You like that one? They do. Right? And it's just wrong. It's irresponsible. And it needs to change. They haven't passed a budget on time since 2006. That's a long time. We haven't had a balanced budget since the Clinton administration. That's bad, right? And so we got a lot of work to do. I'm willing to roll up my sleeve and do it. I recognize it's not going to be easy. I'm not naive, but I am also not part of the establishment. I'm not one of them. I'm one of you, and that makes me even more powerful down there. It's not that the establishment doesn't support me here. It's they're worried because they can't control me. And it's not because I'm out of control. It's just I don't owe them anything. And I don't expect anything from them. And that's dangerous. And so, no other candidate in this race can say that. Because they've all been asked by the establishment to run. They've all been set up by the establishment to run. They've all been given establishment money to do it. So, you got to make up your minds. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to get 100% of me. And I will be accountable to you. All 240 days on that calendar will be dedicated to you. You think you get your money's worth on that? She was home for 2 weeks. The only time you saw her is when Biden flew into Portsmouth. And then what did we see? They talked about infrastructure. Well, that's important, but the rest of us are worried about gas, food, heating, the border, education, and you're up there going, oh, I signed an infrastructure bill. Well, it's not helping us out, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
I think you need to do that more.
What?
That would definitely get people to like you more.
What's that?
That last little lip thing.
Yeah. You wait till I debate her. She's gonna wish she had COVID and stayed home. So I love this state, I love this country. I give my life for it. I give my life for any one of you. I promised to do it before, and I'll do it again. I have grandchildren that I want to make sure have the same opportunities that I have. Right? And right now, I'm worried that they won't. And I've talked to people here that are worried about the same thing. So, I'm glad to have you here. That's what I had to say.
Grok TV.